So the camera location is a vector which is over here, and let's say it is this tree here and this vector is over here. So this vector is your position and this is your camera's location. We subtract that and then we get a vector which is in this direction. Now using that vector, we plug it into the vector of align Euler to vector and see whichever axis works. And you see that x and z are not working, so y automatically works. And you plug this into the rotation for your instances, which are the trees. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning, welcome back to inthekhud. This is 22nd September 2023, 11:33 AM, and we are back to our environment render 3. Technically this should be day 5, and this has to be the last day. There's going to be one more day that I document tomorrow, which is what's going to happen today. In this episode I'm documenting the progress that I made yesterday, which I won't say is like very much, but some significant things. First being how you can take your 3D forest or 3D trees or assets or whatever and convert it into a 2D image, which is something that is directly taken from this video by CG Boost. CG Boost is just everywhere in my CG life. CG Boost plays such an important role. And I don't want to go about explaining the exact steps which they go about in the video, because it's just much easier for you to watch this video, although I will just show you whatever I have done. And the second important thing is, once you have those trees, like in my scene you will see, replaced with planes like here, how can you make it such that when you take the camera, and this, let's stay in the rendered view here, when you take the camera and you move it inside the forest, you will see that all of these trees are going to be facing towards the camera at all times. The reason you want to do this is because you never want to see the backside of the tree, because the backside of the tree is what is going to be 2D. So even if I rotate, so let's say RZ, you see whenever you're rotating, you're always seeing the front side of the trees, which sells the illusion that yeah, these are probably 3D trees. This is the image that I finally imported, right? Inside, if I go to my sharing tab, it is a bit of a setup, although the one thing that I did differently from that video is when Martin takes the 3D model, he puts the frame resolution at 512 by 512, and I did it that way, but it turned out that I was very, very low res. So I think I made it towards the end, I made like 5000 very big, and then I rendered this image out. So the base color is a different one, high res. What you want to do is, whatever your 3D object is, you're going to render it once inside cycles or EV, whatever. Preferably cycles, otherwise why would you be doing all of this jagujat? So you want to render it at a higher sample and everything. That base color is obviously going to go into your PSDF base color. Let me do a Control Shift node wrangler. So Control Shift on this, that's going to give you, this is how your image will come by default. So this curves is not doing anything, is just like a little bit of color correction. We have two normal maps. One is the entire trees and one is this particular tree. And then we mix that using overlay at factor of 1 and plug that into a normal map node, which goes into the normal. So if I was to remove this, let me go back to my end result here, mix shader. Could be because we don't have, just by removing the normal map, it looks a lot like 3D, like the illusion of depth is coming with the normal map, which I found really very interesting. That is one thing I've done. The second thing is, how do you make this kind of a thing where, let me again hide the constraint and move this here. So as you know from the previous episodes, that these are basically just geometry nodes instances. So let me go to my geometry nodes. So as I move the camera, these are always pointing towards the camera. How do we achieve that? So for that we need the trees collection, trees foreground and trees background. This is what the collection output is, so instance on points. So this is the little setup which is allowing that little thing to happen, where it always faces the camera. Let me just frame this, and we're going to put this frame inside here, and we will call this trees face camera, and we'll give this a different color. Okay, so how does this work? We basically take the position node and subtract that with the camera location. So the camera location is a vector which is over here, and let's say it is this tree here and this vector is over here. So this vector is your position and this is your camera's location. We subtract that and then we get a vector which is in this direction. Now using that vector, we plug it into the vector of align Euler to vector and see whichever axis works. And you see that x and z are not working, so y automatically works. And you plug this into the rotation for your instances, which are the trees. If I take my camera and move it, you will see almost as if they don't like actually look at the camera, but they're making sure that whenever you are in the camera view, you won't see like the back side of the plane ever. you will always be looking at the front side of the plane. So the last thing that I was working on was, even in the previous video, the way the grass was scattered, right? I was just not a big fan of the grass. You see, even here in this part where the grass is growing, I'm not sure why there is this black in between. It just makes it look like unnecessarily cartoony, or not even cartoony, it just looks weird to me, because more or less we're trying to go for a realistic environment, and having this grass here, it just doesn't look right for some reason. So the last thing I was trying to do is, let me just take the plane, and instead, because what I've done for the grass is I've again used the scatter on the geometry nodes here, scatter grass. So if I was to take this, plug it into one of the joint geometries, yeah, so now things are messed up, so I don't quite know why this will, or how this will work. So anyway, what I was trying to do is, I'm going to take the plane and I'm going to add a particle system on it for, oh, not this button, this button. So now what that does is, I think one advantage of doing a particle system situation is that you get here an option. If you come into children, you have an option for interpolated. If it is at none, it's something like this. When you keep it at interpolated, it makes all of those particles in between, which makes it feel more like a grass situation, and it's not like as intensive as well. So I'm trying to work on this for today, and again my entire camera move and everything is messed up, so that has to be worked on. That's the second thing. The third thing, obviously I have to take a frame from here and render it inside the forum. An important thing I forgot to mention is that I got a lot of files yesterday, interior renders, but they're all 3ds Max files. So I was looking at an inthekhud video from like 6 months back, a few months back, and that video was like how I'm forced learning 3ds Max, because that's the need. So I have to learn 3ds Max now, because it's this good thing, it's a good addition in my toolkit to be able to do like renders inside another software other than Blender. And I have like a student free subscription till June of next year, so I'm going to use that, and I'm going to try and document whatever I learn in 3ds Max as well. But first, this project. So thanks so much for being in the inthekhud. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.